Hey, back to Minding Your Business. Welcome. Happy Saturday. This is the Chamber of Commerce, Chris Spiker, Antelope Valley Florist. An interesting show today because it's reunion time. Antelope Valley High School, class of 1969. So, Jim, that'd be 50 years.
50 years.
50-year reunion, and the class is in town for the weekend. This show's actually going to play in November, but we'll get the video up because we're going to have a lot of fun talking about old times and new times and everything in between. So I mentioned Jim Moffett is here, Terry Dillon, and Pam Malden Hansen.
Yes.
Welcome, welcome. Jim, let's pick on you first.
Sure.
Because I think you have a background in law enforcement, so you've
Probation.
probation.
Yeah.
So you've got, and before you left AV High School, you had received several recommendations and certificates from the principal over there at AV High.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he would recall those as
Was that Mr. Peterson?
recommendation. That was the principal. My experience though was more with our vice principals.
Willebrand?
Tosi, wasn't it?
Tosi.
Tosi, and I'm forgetting some of the others. Yeah, a few minor scrapes. I wasn't always in class when I should have been. I had a girlfriend working in the attendance office, and
That
was
helps, yeah.
that was a serious bonus.
Yeah,
So,
really.
but when they discovered in talking to my mother that I was really not very ill or missing teeth or
Grandmother's
anything, didn't have to
passing,
be in the
yeah.
dentist every week, then that sort of ended that cha-cha.
You know, we just kind of mentioned this because I think it gives hope to the next group that's coming
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Well, I think probably at the 10th reunion, at least, people were surprised to learn that I was in probation.
On the
would
other
have,
site of it.
they would have been expecting that I'd be on probation, but working in probation might have surprised some people. But yeah, it was something I kind of fell into and just enjoyed and ended up making a career of it.
You did, and you were all over the state of
I
California.
was, yeah, and some beautiful places. Started in Los Angeles County, which brought me back to Lancaster for a period of time. I was working at a juvenile camp up in Big Rock Canyon. And Camp Fenner was my first assignment. And in '79, went up to Mammoth and ran a juvenile camp up there. And
You do any fishing up there?
I did a lot of fishing. Snow skiing was what took me up there, but the summers were great, and so we spent time backpacking and fishing and doing some snow skiing. And then I was in Mariposa County and Calaveras County on the western side of the Sierra before returning to the east side to Bishop. And so my career was about 30 years in length and included 5 counties, Los Angeles County being the first, and Inyo County and Bishop being the last. And
It's a big state, isn't it?
it's a huge state. And Inyo County, I think, is the second biggest county in the state. And a great trivia question: within its borders are the highest and lowest spots in the continental U.S.
That's right.
Mount Whitney and Death Valley. So really geographically a very interesting place.
I see in your bio here you worked with Governor Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I did. I really liked the guy. I wasn't prepared to, but I did. We weren't on first name basis or anything, but I represented the chief probation officers in Sacramento, working with him at the front end of the juvenile justice reform, and it was brought on by crowding in prisons, and so a lot of work went into that because the state of California was under court orders to reduce their population, and so I was a part of the group that worked on that, and Governor Schwarzenegger did I thought, a commendable job of steering that. Not an easy task.
What's the decision in coming back to a class reunion?
Well, for me, I guess it seems like in the last couple of years, maybe in anticipation of the reunion, I've gotten back in contact with several folks from my class. I suspect I was like a lot of people, and when I was in high school, I was fairly shy. I didn't have a big group of friends. I had several close friends, but I wouldn't say that I was close to all my classmates.
Did you know Pam?
I knew Pam, yeah, I knew Terry.
I didn't never think you were shy.
You didn't think so? Yeah, well, my mother didn't either. So, but at any rate, it's been, I've looked forward to seeing some other folks that I didn't spend quite as much time with and just seeing how everybody's doing. I'm in Tucson, Arizona now, so it was a little bit of a hump, but looking forward to it, and I have children in Bishop, so I'll go up and see them when we're finished here. My grandkids are up there too, so.
I think a reunion is, fascinating. I've worked on a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's a unique group of people
Yeah.
that won't be together
Yeah,
again.
and then when I saw the list of people that are no longer with us, I thought, well, I better catch this one because in 10 more years, who knows?
We're defying gravity.
And, we lost a few friends of ours early on in the process. I always think of Skip Roderick when I'm here in Lancaster and Palmdale, and he died shortly after completing college. And so I think about him, and there's a list of others that are not going to be with us. And, but I'm looking forward to seeing the folks that'll show up, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And tomorrow we have a little tour of the Boulevard. You're going to be on that?
Yeah, I've heard that, a tour of the Boulevard and a tour of the high school, I think, too. And so, yeah, looking forward to all that. And then I have a friend from your class, Robert Martinez.
Right.
He and I grew up on Kettering Street, and looking forward to seeing him in the next day or two.
What brought your family to the Antelope Valley?
Like a lot of us, I suspect it was aircraft. My father was with Douglas and came out here. My mother followed, kicking and screaming. She didn't much care for the area initially, but I think grew to really love it. And they spent, I was 5 years old when we moved here, and I think they didn't leave the area until after my brother and I were gone from home, and he took an overseas assignment. So, but yeah, it was just kind of an interesting place to be. I always viewed Lancaster as this bubble out here, a small town feel, and you seem to know everybody, and everybody's dad got up and went in the morning to Edwards or Palmdale and worked in aircraft, and mom stayed home and baked the bread and took care of the kids and threatened to tell dad about what you were up to when you got home.
Everybody knew who you were and what you were doing.
Yeah, but boy, we could run the streets in those years. We just ran all over the neighborhood in the summer months particularly, and our parents used to sit out in the front yard and chat and gossip, and the kids would run around, and the only rule I remember was get home in time before the sun sets.
Yeah,
And
the lights
that was
came on.
about it.
That was everybody's rule. I
Street
think.
lights, yeah.
And it worked pretty good.
Worked pretty good. Yeah.
It was a fun place to grow up.
It was. It was
No
a great
fear.
place to grow up.
Not too much fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like you said, a few people in our classes
Well,
that
see, yeah. and it-
remind us that there's laws of physics.
Right, yeah, and it just, it felt real special. I think the times were special, and certainly 1969 was a huge year, I think, in our country and our culture and society.
What is it about the year 1969? What are some of the
Well, it was a tremendously powerful time. It had a huge influence on me, I think, that has lasted to this day in terms of a lot of my thinking and musical taste and the rest of it. It was a very potent time, and it's been interesting to see the history unfold on television now as the specials hit the air. And
we get a little more perspective
Yeah,
about how important we were
exactly, yeah.
or are.
Yeah, and it was a great time, and it was kind of strange. I've talked about briefly about Lancaster. Kind of in my mind was a bit of a bubble, and it seems like we were separate from Southern California, and things took a few years to make their way up here to Lancaster, and then. At about the time that we were driving and gas was still 30 cents a gallon and the new freeway went in, I remember telling my folks I was going to the local drive-in and I'd end up down in Santa Monica or the Valley or Hollywood kicking around and just kind of seeing the rest of the world. then, and it just coincided with that freeway being open. It was kind of an interesting.
And you were the only
Tom.
car on the freeway.
We were. I remember my friend Tom Beckwith, I used to have to poke him in the shoulder to make sure that he stayed awake for the drive because you wouldn't see any cars. And so it was an interesting time. And I was glad to leave when I left. And I came back after college for a short time and then was off again. So
What percentage of the class you think is still here and never left?
I would guess a fairly small percentage, but I don't know that to be true. I know that I have some friends and acquaintances that are still here, but far more that I know are elsewhere.
Well, we came here sometimes for the work, but for the
Right.
weather, but then again, you leave for the weather too.
Yeah,
You're
well,
always looking for the best weather.
you know, I've said it time and again, I don't know that there's any perfect place. I've lived in some really nice places. But for instance, Mammoth is a place that's really changed dramatically through the years, and it's a place that I wouldn't choose to live in again. But back in the 80s, it was good stuff.
Yeah, there's something about living in a tourist town that is.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to beat, especially when the tourists went home.
I think if you're young, it's fantastic. If you're older, it's like, let's get rid of some
Yeah,
of these people here.
you know, you're in business, and this
Yep.
is a chamber show, so the business people may relate to this, but, you know, in Mammoth, it was dead quiet in the early spring and the fall until snows fall and the mountain opened up, and then in the summer with the fishing activities, it was very quiet in those shoulder seasons, and not easy for business people to keep things together, but it was great for the locals. We had 50 restaurants in a town of, I think, at that time, 5,000 people. Yeah.
And everybody was having fun.
Yes, we did.
Hey, we've been talking with Jim Moffett, class of AV High School, 1969.
Yeah.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
You bet.